Scooby-Doo is an over 50-year animated show created by Hanna-Barbera about a talking dog and a group of teens travelling around America and sometimes the world, solving mysteries and ruining greedy business owners' lives. The show has produced iconic characters outside of the main 5 characters such as Scrappy-Doo, Vincent Van Gogh, Flim Flam, Blue Falcon and Dynamite, but today we are talking about the 3 most iconic characters which are a part of the rock band Hex Girls. The first time we are introduced to the Hex Girls is after Mystery Inc. run into Ben Ravencroft, a horror writer that Velma is a fan of. He invites the Mystery Gang to his hometown, and when they get there they discover the town has turned Ben's ancestor, Sarah Ravencroft, who was persecuted as a witch, into a tourist attraction. They also meet the mayor of the town, who claims Ben's dead relative is haunting the town. I would too haunt a town if you turn my gruesome murder into a fun little day trip for families. Ben pushes back on the accusation, saying it couldn't be his ancestor because she was not a witch, just a misunderstood Wiccan, and if he could find her journal of herbal remedies, he could prove her innocence once and for all. The gang splits up, as they always do, to look for the witch. Fred, Daphne, Velma and Ben Ravencroft go looking for the witch and find nothing. Shaggy and Scooby, after almost eating an entire restaurant and leaving the owner borderline in tears,
"It was great, especially those last 12 pies."
Glad you liked them.
Start walking down the street. They see 3 shadowy figures walking down an alleyway. They turn out to be 3 lovely ladies. After seeing their fangs, Scooby and Shaggy flee. After they think the coast is clear, they debate going to get more food. Then they get chased by the witch, who tries to turn them into hot dogs. Scared because Scooby is a dog and she is throwing fire. You get the joke. They eventually get away and they tell the rest of the gang what they saw, but they could not find any evidence of the witch. They head back to town and Scooby and Shaggy spot 3 women they saw earlier in the alleyway and say that they were the first 3 witches they saw before the fire throwing one. Turns out they were not witches, they were a rock band that's playing in the town.
You're like one of us.
Yeah, you understand what we're into.
Skipping ahead, turns out the ghost witch was actually Mr. McKnight and multiple of the townspeople using the ghost to stir up tourism under the orders of the mayor. Fast forward again, turns out Ben is not a sweet horror writer as he appears to be. When they finally find the book that belongs to Sarah, turns out Sarah was actually a witch and was trapped inside the book by Wiccans. Turns out even the meeting at the beginning of the film was planned by Ben and was not an accident like he made it seem.
I knew if anyone could help me find the book, it was you and your friends. I orchestrated the whole mummy scheme.
He summons Sarah so that they can rule the modern world.
I'll take that.
Sarah could not care less about this man and plans to punish the world for her long imprisonment. Ben is mad that he's being betrayed by Sarah, so he tries to return her to the book, but only a Wiccan can return her. Velma asks Fawn to help get Sarah back in the book because earlier on in the movie it is mentioned that Fawn is part Wiccan. I don't think it's genetic, but I don't expect Scooby-Doo to have accuracy. They finally get the witch back into the book along with Ben. Then the book catches fire and burns, so those 2 are dead. Then the next day everything is back to normal, like the witch trying to kill them all didn't happen. I'm kind of siding with Sarah on this one. They killed her hundreds of years ago and then hundreds of years later they fake her ghost terrorizing the town and start making money on her tragic story. I would react like she did too. Might as well be the villain they made me out to be at that point. Oh, and the Hex Girls are apparently from this town too. Now that we have met the girls, let's dive into their dynamics in the band. The Hex Girls are described as an eco-goth rock band.
We're eco-goths.
Eco-goths?
That have been a part of the Scooby-Doo franchise since 1999. The band is comprised of 3 members, Fawn, Luna and Dusk. Fawn is the lead singer and guitarist. Fawn is 1/16th Wiccan, meaning her great-great-grandparents were Wiccan on her mother's side. We meet her dad, who is the owner of the Oak Haven Pharmacy and was wearing the Ghost Witch costume.
Daddy?
Hello, Sally.
Your dad's the ghost?
Your name is Sally?
In the movie I just talked about. She comes across very confident but was worried that she wouldn't be able to perform the spell to send Sarah back into the book, but she did it. Yay. Dusk is the drummer of the band and tends to be very hot-headed. When she first meets the Mystery Gang, she tells them,
And we don't need your approval.
that I kind of find funny. Luna plays the keyboard and the bass in the band. We also learn that her dad...
But what about your fangs?
My dad's a dentist. He outfitted the band.
What?
I did also look up what an eco-goth is. From what I read, it means goths who care all about the environment and do everything possible to ensure the continued flourishing of the planet. So like buying things secondhand and spreading awareness about eco-friendly ways of living, I think. That was the first appearance of the Hex Girls almost 25 years ago, and the movie made them icons. They appeared in the second Scooby-Doo movie where the villain was actually of supernatural origins and not just someone in a mask after Scooby-Doo on the zombie island. The girls continued to appear in Scooby-Doo franchise, becoming fan favourite. The next time the girl showed up was 4 years later in Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. In March 2003, Scooby-Doo and the gang are in Australia for a vacay. That's what they say in those teen summer movies. I am trying to be hip. They travel around Sydney for a bit and see a poster for a concert at Vampire Rock and they decide to head there. After Velma promises Shaggy and Scooby there are no actual vampires, the mystery gang get there and hear some familiar music. It's the Hex Girls. Turns out they are the openers to the Vampire Rock concert, and they meet the owners of the concert and find out that the bands competing keep being kidnapped by vampires.
Finalists in our unsigned band contest are disappearing.
Well, that's not good.
The Hex Girls appear in this movie considerably less than in their first appearance. They did get kidnapped by the vampires, and when they escaped after the mystery was solved, they performed with the mystery gang. But it does seem like their band is growing in popularity. Not only are they performing in different countries and the crowd love them, they are the openers to this concert, not even contestants. They have come a long way since playing in their hometown. Good for them. I did find it funny when Fawn was introducing Mystery Inc.
Russell, these are our friends from America.
I mean, they can't really mention the fact that they banished a witch and warlock together, so I guess it's not a lie, it's just an omission of some key information. Additionally, the Hex Girls were the only band that were kidnapped that did not take the bribe that the vampires offered after kidnapping them, so they have some integrity, unlike the other bands.
They offered us a free trip if we would leave the festival, but we refused. So they took us into the outback and left us there.
In case you couldn't guess, because I skipped over it, the vampires were not real. They were just another band who wanted to win the Battle of the Bands and got rid of the Hex Girls for some reason. They weren't even competing. Also, what up-and-coming band has this much money to be sending people away? Like, they paid for all the other bands to go on trips. With what money? Just a quick little side note, was this movie sponsored by Australia? Was this to make kids ask their parents
This guidebook says Sydney has the best restaurants in the entire southern hemisphere
to go to Australia? I even googled it to see if the Australian government had anything to do with the film.
What's with the groovy ceiling on that place?
That's the Sydney Opera House.
Anyway, moving on. After that, the next time we see the Amazing Hex Girls was in What's New Scooby-Doo in October 2003. In the episode The Vampire Strikes Back in season 2, episode 5, later in the same year as Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. This was when I first met the Hex Girls. I saw this episode on reruns on Boomerang and I loved it. As if the Hex Girls had not had enough of vampires in their last appearance, they're dealing with them again. Hex Girls are filming a music video in Transylvania and they invite Mystery Inc. to come visit them. Whilst they are recording the music video, they get attacked by a vampire and then the normal Mystery Inc. investigation ensues. Outside of the main plot of the vampire attack, they do mention there is a Hex Girls drama between all the girls. When Scooby and the gang arrive, they see the Hex Girls fighting.
Are you insane? You want to keep shooting this video with that vampire freak on the loose?
But the other two disagree. Scooby and the gang arrive just as they finish and Velma asks what are they fighting about. Daphne interjects,
Oh, Dusk's dumping Thorn and Luna to go solo. How do you know that? Popular magazine. I never leave the States without it.
This magazine shows Fawn leaving, though, so slightly confusing. And later, when Dusk is kidnapped, Daphne accuses her of kidnapping herself to get out of the band. No one leaves the band. Dusk was just concerned about, you know, the vampire attack. When Mystery Inc. solves the case, they record their music video like normal. 7 years later, in 2010, the girls re-emerge in Mystery Incorporated, but with a new backstory. The Hex Girls appear multiple times in the show, which is my favourite version of Scooby-Doo. They appeared in the episodes In Fear of the Phantom and in Dance of the Undead. They first get introduced in the start of In Fear of the Phantom. Season 1, episode 7, the Hex Girls are playing a concert in the hometown of Mystery Incorporated, Crystal Cove. Scooby and the gang are there.
I thought you had to be a scout for to get front row tickets for the Hex Girls.
Oh, you just need to know Velma.
I love you!
Then mid-concert, the band are attacked and Fawn almost gets crushed to death. So Daphne pretends to be Fawn during the next rehearsal, gets kidnapped. She escapes eventually, that's not important. Throughout the episode, there are arguments between Mystery Incorporated. Daphne thinks Fred cares more about traps than her, and Scooby is mad at Shaggy for choosing to go to the dance instead of watch a TV special with him. Big drama with Mystery Incorporated right now. After Scooby and Shaggy will almost turn into hot dogs, yes, I am making the same joke again, sue me. It's not my fault they keep almost dying in fires. Anyways, after almost cosplaying as Anakin Skywalker, Scooby and Shaggy find a piece of fabric in Scooby's dummy's mouth.
Oh, you saved me. Like it's no big deal. Thank you, Harry. Harry!
Recognizing it from the performer, Fancy Pants, who was managed by the same manager as the Hex Girls, they accuse Gus Boggs, the manager. Boggs reveals that Fancy Pants was dropped by the record label and the Hex Girl took his place. Wonder if that has any connection to anything. Whilst Daphne is preparing to be bait for the Phantom, and Fawn starts giving her some advice and speaks about some guy called Knuckles who dumped her for theme park rides, and they write a new song together, Bonding. Turns out the Phantom was Daniel Peretzi, aka Fancy Pants, who became the Hex Girls co-writer and tried to make bad songs for them so that they would fail, just like he did. But the Hex Girls managed to turn each of his bad songs into gold, so he turned into the Phantom to stop them. Clearly it didn't work. The next time the Hex Girls appeared in season 2, episode 18, Dance of the Undead. In this episode, a band called Rude Boy and the Scar-tastics that died in a plane crash 30 years ago come back from the dead and hypnotize people with their music in the town of Crystal Cove. The gang start investigating the case by visiting a local music shop where they learn more about the band. Apparently people believe the lead singer used voodoo magic to make them famous, and they find out this is not the first time a town has been struck by a dancing plague. A similar thing happened in 1818 France. Then there is a commotion outside and they discover Rude Boy and the Scar-tastics hypnotizing the town. Velma, Fred and Daphne start to fall under the music's control. However, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy are fine because Shaggy is tone deaf and Scooby is a dog. Scooby and Shaggy figure out they need to find people who know about music to save the town. So we next see them in disguise sneaking onto a yacht to find the Hex Girls, playing the song Hoodoo Voodoo with the lyrics. I wonder if they can help with the ghost doing voodoo magic. I wonder. After Scooby and Shaggy interrupt their performance,
Zombies from taking over the world!
they explain what's happening, and the Hex Girls say the only way to defeat them is using the ultimate chord, and they offer to do a battle with Rude Boy and the Scar-tastics. Turns out Rude Boy and the Scar-tastics fake their death so they can make a big comeback, then decided to terrorize people. I'm just going to tell you that is literally the plot of Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire. A band faked their disappearance and a year later they turned back up and started kidnapping the other band so they can win the battle of the bands, and they just repeated that plot line in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. After solving the mystery, the Hex Girls and the band are all hanging out when the girls question the weird music score planispheric disc that the Mystery Incorporated have. They start to hum it and it moves, and it shows the coordinates that the Mystery Incorporated believe leads to a clue that will solve the mystery of the Crystal Cove that they have been looking into for the last 2 seasons. Yeah, the whole thing is a long story. This version of Scooby-Doo is serialized instead of episodic like it normally is. It's wild. For example, during this whole episode, Scooby has been visiting his girlfriend who is in a coma after falling out a helicopter after it was shot by a projectile. I recommend watching this version. It's very fun. A bit creepy, but I loved it. Mystery Incorporated changes the Hex Girl and the Mystery Incorporated lore, so I'm viewing it as a different universe from all the previous appearances. In Fear of the Phantom in this version is the first time they meet the girls, whereas from Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost up until The Vampire Strikes Back, those were all in the same timeline. In Scooby-Doo Guess Who, in season 1, episode 24, called I Put a Hex on You, which came out in July 2020, 10 years after the previous appearance, the episode starts at the Hex Girl's house with them receiving a delivery of a guitar. When their stagehand starts to tune it, he gets seemingly possessed and runs away. Changing the lore again, this is the first time they meet Mystery Incorporated. Daphne was hired to do the Hex Girls makeup, and when the leader of their fan club comes in to do an interview with them, their crazy stagehand appears smashing a hole through the wall. Mystery Incorporated capture him and Thor takes the guitar from him. The Hex Girls girls start to perform. During the performance, Fawn starts to act erratic and Luna takes the guitar from her, and then she starts to have the same symptoms as Fawn. Then Dusk asks Scooby and Shaggy to shoot them with a stun gun they have for when Fawn gets too crazy on stage. After many missed shots, they eventually get the Hex Girls to sleep. Then a strange spirit appears on the stage claiming to be the ghost of the owner of the guitar and claims that the Hex Girls will never play again. Off the stage, when Fawn and Luna wake up, they have complete personality switches. Fast forwarding to the end, the girls play another show and Velma figures out how to fix them. The rest of the gang traps the ghost and it is revealed to be Xander, the former 4th member of the Hex Girls who quit the band due to stage fright and was now the president of the Hex Girls fan club. As the girls got more famous, she got more jealous, so she rigged the guitar to play a mind-altering sound wave that changed the Hex Girls' personalities. I did look at some of the reviews for this episode and it was about 50-50 on whether it was a good episode. I liked it a lot. We got to see way more of the Hex Girls' personalities. We learned that Fawn was an impulse buyer who never cries apparently.
I told you to stop buying stuff from all those catalogs. The band's already got 15 storage units filled with your impulse buys.
Dusk has been pretty consistently portrayed throughout all iterations of the Hex Girls. She's seen as aggressive and unpredictable, which I like about her personally. And Luna has been shown as the more sensible one in the group, so not much change there, but I hate her hair so much in this version. Fawn is the only one with good hair in this version. This is probably the biggest change in Hex Girl lore so far, giving them a forgotten 4th member. This iteration also shows the Hex Girl at the highest point of fame in my opinion. The girls have headlined at the Vampire Rock Festival. In this episode they get recognised by their delivery man.
Hey, wait a minute! You're the Hex Girls! Thorn, Luna, and Dusk!
This is a random guy doing his job, knowing who they are, implying that the girls are close to becoming household names. They were featured in posters in the background for the movie Scoob and the TV show Velma. These are their last on-screen appearances for the Hex Girls. They also appeared in the Scooby-Doo team-up comics Crisis on Infinite Scoob, which is a play on a DC comic series, Crisis on Infinite Earths. I wanted to discuss a huge component of who the Hex Girls are, which is their music. The Hex Girls are a band, and every time they appear we get a new song or two. They have over 13 songs, but we are only covering my personal top 4. In no particular order: Trap of Love featuring Daphne aka Crush. Trap of Love was played in Mystery Incorporated. Daphne and Fawn wrote it when Fred could not decide which was more important, Trap or Daphne. The song is a play on words, Trap of Love talking about a literal trap and the conditions of her relationship with Fred. Then we have a song Hex Girl. This is actually the first song of theirs that was ever heard, when Mystery Inc. stumble upon the girls after Shaggy and Scooby think they are witches. Then we have Earth, Wind, Fire and Air. This song really encapsulates the overall vibe of the Hex Girls. The lyrics: nature is a precious gift, it will make your spirits live. And the lyrics: we may look bad but we don't care, we ride the wind, we feel the fire, to love the earth is our one desire. From the movie Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, where they were introduced as eco-goth rock band, they care about their music and the environment, and I'll trade in this song. Next we have Petrified Bride. This song was performed in the episode The Vampire Strikes Back, when the twin vampires keep trying to attack them. It is a very repetitive song, I will admit that. It's like a car ride song on a country road. These were songs I would actually listen to in my day-to-day life. The Hex Girls' appearance has changed multiple times since 1999. My favourite iteration of the Hex Girls for Fawn is her OG look. She truly is captivating in The Witch's Ghost. For Dusk, the outfit I like most of hers is in Scooby-Doo Guess Who, but I do prefer when her hair is short. And for Luna, hands down, her wearing her original Hex Girl look in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, her hair is so much better. Overall, the best look for the Hex Girls, in my opinion, are their original looks or their imitations of their original looks in Mystery Incorporated, which is similar but not 100% the same. I really don't like Luna's hair. Mystery Incorporated did her hair justice for the first time, and then it went back to bad in Scooby-Doo Guess Who. I'm going to be honest, before doing this video, I thought the Hex Girls appeared way more often in the Scooby-Doo franchise. What impactful, show-stealing performance they have every time they appear on screen. There appears to be at least 2 or 3 timelines for the Hex Girls. In the initial timeline, we got to see the girls grow from just performing in their hometown in Massachusetts, USA, to headlining Vampire Rock Music Festival in Australia on a different continent. Then the next timeline is in Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated in Fear of the Phantom, when they meet Mystery Incorporated for the first time after their concert in Crystal Cove gets attacked by a phantom. then they stay reasonably close to Crystal Cove since Scooby and Shaggy were able to get to them and get back within the time frame of 24 hours before Rude Boy and Scartastic would have full control of everyone. Then another timeline in Scooby-Doo Guess Who, the first interaction we see, the Hex Girl and Mystery Incorporated is Daphne doing their makeup because they hire her. They are also an established band. The Hex Girls have appeared only 6 times in Scooby-Doo films and TV shows, yet they are some of the most famous Scooby-Doo characters outside of Scrappy, who co-starred in an entire Scooby-Doo series. These girls are basically equal to Scrappy with only 6 appearances over 20 years. I think they deserve a round of applause for that. I hope they appear more in the Scooby-Doo franchise as it keeps going. And that will be all for this video. Tell me your favourite Scooby-Doo side characters. 2 that I really like are Blue Falcon and Dynamite, or Flim Flam and Vincent Van Gogh. But let me know in the comments below. Goodbye!